It is another Wednesday night. It is another 4-hour block of AEW television. And as I am sitting here right now, I'm looking off to the side, and the second half of Summer Blockbuster is on the air. Collision. Timeless Toni Storm is on her way to the ring for a match against Julia Hart. We are going live, though, like we did last week, because I ain't waiting until the end of Collision to join all of you. We're going to here to talk about AEW Dynamite tonight, and have a show that set up some key angles for key matches in Texas at All In coming up next month. Tonight, we had the contract signing for the match between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada at All In. It is winner takes all, champion against champion, title for title. And they made it official tonight that it will be a match to crown a brand new champion, a new unified champion. Not a unified international champion, not a unified continental champion. They're literally calling it the AEW or not international, the AEW Unified Championship. They got so many fucking belts, I'm so confused. The Unified Championship is the brand new name of a brand new belt that I will show you later on here in the stream. And they closed the Dynamite portion of tonight's Summer Blockbuster with Kazuchika Okada laying a beatdown on Kenny Omega. That took this from that took this from what was supposed to be a serious angle, and they turned it into something more akin to what I would see if I was watching a really bad B horror movie, where Kenny Omega took some shots to the midsection. Now, in case you didn't know, because they make it clear all the time, this man had diverticulitis, and he had inches and inches of his colon removed, right? It was a terrible surgery. It was life-threatening. And so, of course, anytime anybody attacks the midsection, you got to bring up the fact that, you know, his previously diverticulitis-ridden gut is being attacked. And so Okada, after coming off the top rope with an elbow drop, and Kenny gets loaded onto a stretcher, we have this amazing shot of Okada diving onto Kenny Omega on a stretcher outside the ring. And Kenny Omega begins to spew up blood. I swear to you, it is something that looked like it was out of a cheesy, like, 1980s horror flick. He went hard on the blood packets here. And I'm talking like thick gobs of blood just start spewing out of this man's mouth. And maybe they were going for a more serious tone here to this. And of course, the announcers sold it in a very serious way. I just sat here laughing my ass off. It was high comedy. I was thoroughly entertained by the end of the show tonight. Maybe not quite in the way that they intended, but that is how the Dynamite portion went off the air tonight. Again, we'll talk more about what happened. I'll show you what the championship looks like as well. What I was looking forward to was the match between Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay, which did not disappoint. That's how they opened the show tonight. They had an outstanding match. And the one angle that I really have been liking and digging on this show involves those men. It involves Swerve, it involves Ospreay, and it involves Hangman as well. That's some of the best storytelling that they have been doing heading into Texas. And so we're going to talk about that match and the post-match, which seemingly sets up a very predictable bout for Arlington next month. The Death Riders tonight, they sent a message to Hangman Page. We'll talk about that. MJF and Mistico, it is official. They're going to have a match on Dynamite next week at Arena Mexico. They set that up tonight. And so, as I mentioned, right now, the second half of Summer Blockbuster is on the air. So periodically, we may just check in and see what's going on over there. But this is your AEW Dynamite review for Summer Blockbuster. It is Wednesday, June 11th, 2025. I am the Solomonster. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. I know a lot of people are tuned in to the basketball game. I think it's the fourth quarter right now between the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Indiana Pacers. Last I checked, I think the quarter was just starting. OKC was up only a handful of points. Very exciting. Probably more exciting than what's happening on Collision right now. But for those of you who are with me, I'm very grateful. Hit that subscribe button if you would be so kind. Hit that like button as well. as we shoot for our goal tonight to see if we might do some Be the Booker a little bit later on. Super chats are open, and you will see those popping up on your screen as well. There's one right there from Libido Bell. The Joker, the Riddler, and Two-Face. Vince McMahon, Paul Heyman, and Eric Bischoff. The Three Stooges. I also want to mention something very cool, which is that JD and I over on his channel are on the verge of 100 episodes of Tuesday Night Titans. We had episode 99 last night. We're off next week, but the week after that, June 24th, is episode 100, and we are celebrating 100 episodes of TNT with a brand new t-shirt, and you can get a sense of the design right there. The shirt itself doesn't animate, but you can get the shirt right now. There is a link in the description down below to the Bonfire store where you can pick up what I think is a very badass design. So go check that out. Again, the link is in the description down below, and thank you all for supporting as we are about to hit the Centennial Edition. It's very exciting. Again, that's in 2 weeks, so go ahead and grab the shirt. Let's talk about this Dynamite show, though. Let's kick things off here. In the back, before the show even really began, they come on the air, and we see Hangman Page is wheeling his luggage into the arena, and he is having a conversation with Christopher Daniels. I guess they've patched things up. All is well now between Hangman and Christopher. He made Daniels bleed. Remember that? Or actually, I should take that back. Daniels made himself bleed. But they were having a blood feud with each other. But everything is okay now. And so they're interacting, and Daniels is warning him that Jon Moxley is not going to be alone at All In. And he's not going to be alone between now and All In. He's got the Death Riders. They've got their alliance there with the Young Bucks. He can't do it by himself. You know, the numbers game is just too much. And he says, as far as the Bucks are concerned, they don't really have his back, even though they're saying they do. And everything they do for Hangman. He basically said that that's bullshit. So Hangman might want to rectify some things with some of the folks on the roster. He didn't mention Swerve by name, but obviously that's who he was referring to. Because Daniel said, I can't help you. He's management now. He's an office stooge. There's nothing he can do. Wouldn't the Young Bucks be considered part of the office since they're EVPs? Apparently Daniels, though, his hands are tied. He can't do anything about it. So Page walks off. Their conversation ends. Page walks off, and we see Jon Moxley was milling around. He didn't see Jon Moxley because he was concealing his identity. But Jon Moxley was shown spying off to the side. He kind of gave the high sign to the Death Riders, who are now following behind Hangman. Hangman has no idea that they're walking behind him. That is how Dynamite went on the air tonight. At that point, they cut to the usual intro, and they opened the show, and I was grateful for this. They opened the show with the real main event of this show, which was Will Ospreay one-on-one against Hangman Adam Page. Will Ospreay. I think I was back at Double or Nothing, man. I love that main event so much in the Owen Hart tournament. Let's run that shit back. It's a great fucking match. One of the best matches all year. I'm ready for part 2. We did get part 2 tonight, but this was part 2 of Will Ospreay and Swerve Strickland. Let's make sure we get it right. So their first match at Forbidden Door last year was one of the best matches all year. Their match last year was outstanding. High expectations coming into this, and especially given who's involved. These are two of the best in the company. So you knew, maybe not so much a clean finish, but you knew you were going to get a hell of a match between these two. So we kick things off here. The bell rings, and immediately we get holy shit chants from the audience. I don't know where. I think they were in Portland. I think they said they were in Portland tonight. But wherever they were, it was a hot crowd for this match. Small crowd, but a hot crowd, and they were into this big time from the bell. Both men shook hands. Neither man let go. So we got a quick-paced opening sequence. It ended with both men kipping up. Strickland was the one who threw the first strike, and Ospreay got his nose busted open in the process. I didn't really see exactly how it happened. I don't know that it was on that initial strike. They were doing some chain wrestling, and they were rolling around. Whatever happened, he got his nose bloodied up. So Swerve caught a rolling flatliner. Strickland then stayed in control with a backbreaker. He kept Ospreay grounded. Ospreay fired off a chop to the windpipe, hit a handspring corkscrew kick. We got the Pip Pip Cheerio. Solo probably felt so satisfied himself when the Bucks ran in. There ain't nothing satisfying about that. If you mean predictable, sure. Satisfied, I don't know about that. It's not really a word I would use to describe that. But he sent Strickland out of the ring. Ospreay followed with a Sasuke special that took us into the first commercial. They come back from break. Ospreay hit a springboard forearm to the back of the head. And he tried for an Os cutter. Strickland caught him with a neck breaker out of midair. Ospreay's hung up on the top rope. Now Strickland hits a swerve stomp to the back. Only got a 2 count out of it. Ospreay whiffed on a desperation hidden blade, but then he tried again and he took Strickland's head off. My God. Strickland spun out of a stormbreaker that followed into a tilt-a-whirl side slam, only for Ospreay to answer with a stun dog millionaire. So Ospreay wanted an Os cutter. Strickland basically said, fuck you, you're not getting an Os cutter. Caught him again in midair, this time with a short arm scissors. Ospreay powered up almost into a wheelbarrow, and he flung him backwards into the turnbuckles. So Swerve came back. He charged right into a standing Spanish fly. 3rd time's the charm for Ospreay on the Os cutter, but he only gets a 2 count out of it. So Strickland, he backdrops Ospreay to the floor to avoid a Stormbreaker attempt, and Strickland backflips off the apron. He lands awkwardly and has his back turned to the ring. That allows Ospreay to hit a suicide hidden blade through the ropes, which was crazy. That looked great. And that took us into another break. Ospreay locked on a figure 4 during picture-in-picture. Strickland made the ropes as the show came back. There were multiple kicks that landed flush. All that did was wake up Strickland. So Ospreay swung for the fences with a hidden blade. He missed as he was throwing himself into it, and he crashed hard into the middle turnbuckle. Strickland worked a Kimura up the ropes and then landed a superplex. He went back to the short arm scissors, this time into a triangle. Ospreay, though, he powers up, tries for a Styles Clash. He's trying to maneuver him into position for a Styles Clash. Strickland countered into a Hangman Page Deadeye. How about that? Borrowing some offense from the Cowboy. Didn't work, though. Only got 2. Strickland went up top. He missed a swerve stomp, only for Ospreay to connect with a charging hidden blade for a close near fall of his own. You know, man, I really wish he would protect that move more. I really hate how much he uses that move without finishing people off with it. Like that thing is, it really should be a death sentence when you're in a match against him. Like, it should be lights out. And it's one thing for him to constantly try it. Like, that makes sense, because if you know it's curtains, you're going to try that move over and over. And if you're the opponent, you're going to try to dodge it and duck it as much as you possibly can. But when he connects with it and just gets near fall and near fall and near fall, I'm like, it just dumbs the move down. So I just wish he would tone that down a little bit. And if he's going to try it, don't connect with it unless you're going to win with it. Because the way he pulls it off, it really is a devastating maneuver. But it really should be lights out. Like, there's no reason that you should have somebody like, for years in WWE, somebody like Baron Corbin, who was able to protect the End of Days. I think the only person I ever saw kick out of the End of Days was Drew McIntyre at WrestleMania. And even then, I think he was disappointed. He still wanted to protect the move. But good on him. I mean, there are certain moves in wrestling, the brogue kick, right, that come to mind when I think of finishers or moves that are protected. This should be one of them. So that's the one thing that I just didn't like about this. Excalibur tells us that we're at the 25-minute mark, and when they bring that to your attention, it's a dead giveaway that we're probably going to a draw. And if we're not going to a draw, the time limit is going to come into play in the final waning moments of the match. So he mentions 25 minutes. So both men start slugging it out as they get back to their feet. Strickland snapped Ospreay's bad shoulder down, which led to a quick house call kick, followed by a swerve stomp, but Ospreay kicked out. Ospreay blocked another house call with another hidden blade before hitting a Stormbreaker, and that got the closest near fall yet of the match. Ospreay took too long. He was contemplating a Tiger Driver. Tiger Driver 91. He had the arms hooked. And he's looking to the crowd, and he wants to do it, but he's thinking, should I not? So he decides to go for it. Strickland, though, spun out, and he hit a vertebreaker. So the house call caught Ospreay flush. Both men rolled out to the apron. Taz now is telling us, the announcers are saying Swerve must not realize, because he's kind of taking his time as he's ascending to the top rope. And he must not realize that time is ticking away. And Taz reminds us on commentary, there's only about 30 seconds left in the match. And this guy's taking his sweet time, setting up for a swerve stomp, and then all of a sudden the bell starts ringing. And as soon as the bell rings, the fans know what that means. And the boos rain down upon both these men. These people are not happy as they make the call that time has expired. And this match, which had gone 30 minutes, is over. And it is a time limit draw, so the people were not happy. Prince Nana gives Swerve the microphone, and he said, I'm hurting all over. But they just showed, the two of them did, that AEW were the best wrestle. And everybody cheered. The only way to prove that you're the best is you finish matches. So he knows Ospreay really wants to beat him, so let's do sudden death. And everybody loved that idea. Before that could happen, though, we heard the Death Riders music. And out walks the entire crew, minus Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir, who entered separately. They surround Swerve and Prince Nana. Actually, that was later on when they came out separately from that crew. Because we'll get to more Death Rider stuff with Hangman in a little bit. But they're surrounding the ring. The Young Bucks run out, and they attack Swerve Strickland in the ring. They hit him with an EVP trigger. Prince Nana ate a super kick. Nick Jackson then pulls out some handcuffs, and they handcuff Swerve by both wrists to the ropes. So he is incapacitated. He is unable to defend himself. He is unable to do anything. And then Wheeler Yuta throws a duffel bag into the ring, and in the bag is a pair of thumbtack-covered Swerve sneakers, just like Swerve used at Anarchy in the Arena. So the Bucks went to put the shoes on. They went to deliver dueling super kicks when all of a sudden, at the very last possible moment, out of nowhere, who should dive in front of Swerve to shield him and take the bullet right to the face, but Will Ospreay. And he eats this double super kick here from the Bucks. Immediately drops down. He's covering and shielding his face, and he's writhing around on the mat in pain. And Doc Samson gets in the ring to check on him, and he's convulsing on the mat in pain. And the Bucks, they look shocked by what they just saw. They're shocked that Ospreay would do that he would take the bullet for this man. And that is how the segment came to an end. Ospreay right there, right at the feet of Swerve, who's still handcuffed to the ropes. All he can do is look down at Ospreay. He can't really help him. But that's how the segment ended. This went a few minutes longer than their original match. Only about 3 minutes or so, but it was actually longer than part one between these two. I can't say it was better because, that was a great match too. This was on TV. You had the commercial breaks. It breaks up the flow of the match, whereas that one was on pay-per-view and it's just straight through. So I can't say that it was better, but as good of a television match as you will see all year long. This was an outstanding opening match here on this show. Great stuff. I figured the Young Bucks were going to get involved. I said as much last week because I just couldn't imagine that either one of these men this close to Texas was going to take a clean loss. It didn't make sense to me. Like, even in terms of the story, let's say Swerve beats Ospreay. Okay. You're not going to run it back in Texas, right? They're going to do something probably with the Bucks. Same thing if Ospreay beats Swerve. Okay, so now they're 1-1 because Swerve beat him last year. What does that really accomplish, right? You really shouldn't be beating either of these men right now. What I figured is that the Young Bucks will get involved in the finish, and that would ruin the entire match. I didn't even think of the whole time limit idea, and that it was going to have a 30-minute time limit attached to it. So they decided to go that route instead. And we got the angle with the Bucks after the match. And based on what they did here, first of all, Ospreay taking the bullet for Swerve in terms of the story they're trying to tell should go far as persuading Swerve that Ospreay is when he talks about doing this for the benefit of AEW and how we all have to get on the same page, we have to take that championship away from Jon Moxley. We have to take down the Death Riders. We have to just get on the same page here. Him doing what he did should persuade him that he's being genuine in what he is trying to say. You put your money where your mouth is. You're not all talk. I know what you did for me, and that went a long way to showing me that you're real and you mean what you say. And so now it appears that, in fact, what they are doing is, in fact, swapping Hangman for Ospreay and putting Ospreay in the spot that I believe Hangman was originally intended for, because they had started taking steps on television in some of these backstage segments to patching things up between Swerve and Hangman. And it's like all of a sudden, like a few weeks ago, they got angry again at each other, where it felt like the ice was beginning to thaw. Now it's like they're at each other's throats. And now Ospreay has to be mediator between them. Something changed in the creative. I do believe the reports that came out that the winner of the Owen Hart tournament wasn't decided on by Tony Khan, whether it was that weekend or the week before, but it was a late call. It was a late decision. It was going to be one or the other, clearly, once they both made it to the finals. And then there was a report from Fightful that Hangman was lobbying that Ospreay should win, and Ospreay's like, no, Hangman should win. It was a late decision. And so Swerve and Hangman as a tag team, putting their differences aside to take down the Young Bucks, made a lot of sense. So instead, with him being chosen as the person to challenge Jon Moxley, they're literally just sliding Will Ospreay into that spot. And the story still works. It doesn't work as well because Hangman has that personal history with the Elite. It would work better if he was in this spot, especially with the history that he and Swerve have. But you could also make it work in this situation as well. And you also know that in Texas, you're going to get a kick-ass tag team match out of it. So now the goal is that the two of them, I think, are going to link up. And their goal is going to be to take down the Young Bucks so that they can't get involved in that main event. So that Hangman can have a clearer path to trying to win back that championship. So that seems to be the story that they're telling here. And I like this story. This is the best story they're telling right now. Really, ever since Double or Nothing. And that first segment we had on television coming out of that last pay-per-view, where we had the three of them in the ring together. It's a very simple story that they're telling, but I like it. And it makes sense, going into All In. But here's my question. The question is, if in fact it was a relatively late decision that Tony Khan made on who he wanted to win the Owen and get that championship match at All in Texas, what are we really talking about here? Right? We're talking about, you would hope, we're talking about the person who wins the Owen taking the championship from Jon Moxley. Like, you're choosing your next AEW world champion. That's what I'm hoping. I know that's what a lot of you are hoping. But if it was such a late call that it almost didn't matter and he's just going to swap spots with Hangman and Ospreay like they're interchangeable, is it a case where it doesn't matter because neither of them are winning the championship? So you can swap out Ospreay for Hangman because Ospreay was never going to win the belt, which means Hangman's not going to win the belt because maybe the plan is not for Jon Moxley to lose the title in Texas. I hate that, but that's the one thing that worries me. If it was a late call, maybe it was a late call because none of this really matters. And Moxley is going to be champion for a little while longer, which I think would be a terrible mistake. I hope that is not the case. That is the one thing that worries me. We go backstage.
I have the best moveset.
Kevin Owens telling us that he has the best moveset before realizing, oh shit, I'm on the wrong show. And then he promptly left. Thank you, my friend. Renee was backstage with Kazuchika Okada, who was about to talk when Don Callis walked in. And Callis was asking why Okada is in this match with Kenny Omega at All In. It should be Kyle Fletcher. Or it should be Konosuke Takeshita. What has Okada done? to earn this match with Kenny Omega that his men haven't. Callis shook his finger at Okada.
Off is the direction you can fuck.
That's what Okada told him. Off is the direction you can fuck, bitch. I wish he would have said that to him. That would have been badass. But no. So he shook his finger at Okada. Okada grabbed his finger. That's when the rest of the Callis family stepped into camera frame. Lance Archer and Takeshita was there. And Okada called Callis a bitch. He did call him a bitch before walking off. We got footage of the Hurt Syndicate viciously laying a beatdown in the back earlier today on Komander, whose face we never saw because MJF was holding Komander's mask in his hand. And Komander, or someone who they wanted us to think was Komander, was laying on the ground, face down, covering up his face. And the announcers told us that Mascara Dorada would be taking his place in the trios match that he was scheduled for later in the show. Evidently, Komander is out with a legitimate injury. This is according to Fightful and Sean Ross Sapp. We don't know the nature of the injury. We don't know how serious it is, if he's going to miss Arena Mexico next week, or if it's just a minor thing and maybe he'll only be out for a week. We don't know, but it's a legitimate injury. So they had to write him out of the show tonight, and this is the angle that they did. But because he was face down on the ground, I don't know if that was actually him or not. It could have been somebody else. I don't know if that was actually Komander, but that's why they shot the angle that they did. Now, we go from one luchador in Komander. Was it hologram, says Kevin. I don't know. I don't know what hologram looks like.
Have the best moveset.
I have no idea. But it could have been anybody because we never saw the person's face. So your guess is as good as mine on that. We had Mistico, who's being advertised for next week's Arena Mexico show, taking on Blake Christian with Lee Johnson in his corner. Now, God bless Ian Riccaboni. Ian Riccaboni was on commentary. This is becoming like a regular thing, which I'm cool with because I think Ian Riccaboni is very good. But we had Ian Riccaboni on commentary tonight with Excalibur and Taz. They let Shivani do some of the in-ring stuff. And God bless Ian, but he tried. He tried his damnedest to put Blake Christian over as some sort of threat to Mistico by mentioning the fact that Blake Christian is undefeated this year in Ring of Honor. He has yet to lose a match. Ooh. Problem is, I don't give a shit if Blake Christian is undefeated in Ring of Honor. I don't care. You know what I care about? I'm watching Dynamite. I'm not watching Ring of Honor. I'm watching AEW Dynamite. And what I can tell you, what I know from what I've seen of Blake Christian when he's on AEW television, is that he can't win a match to save his fucking life. So they tried to make him seem like, oh, he's really impressive. He's on some kind of a hot streak here. But it's so nonsensical. I had to look up. I couldn't even remember the last time that Blake Christian won a match on AEW television. And then I realized he never has. He has never won a match on AEW television. He has won a match in AEW, but it was on Dark, which did not air on TV. And Dark has been, how long has Dark been gone for? At least 2 years now. That was the last time that Blake Christian even won a match in AEW. So don't feed me this nonsense about, well, he's undefeated this year. Well, that only takes you so far. Every time we see him on Collision or we see him on this show, he's in there to look up at the lights. That's his job. And that was his job tonight against Mistico. Mistico wanted a handshake. Christian flipped him off. And they gave Blake Christian more offense than you would think here. He did get some off. It wasn't like a squash match. Didn't go very long. Only went about 4 minutes. But it's not as if this was a total squash. So Mistico hit a tope suicida, landed right on his own face. Lee Johnson, he tripped up and distracted Mistico to allow Christian to fly in with a corkscrew dive and a 450 splash back inside for a 2 count. Christian again went up top, but Mistico recovered with an enziguri and a Spanish fly for the win off the top. So the Hurt Syndicate walked out when the match was over, and MVP said that he won't be the one to address Mistico. He's going to leave that to MJF. And MJF said that it was a very impressive showing, and that's coming from the most complete pro wrestler in the sport today. So MJF is going to give Mistico a match next week. It is AEW Grand Slam Mexico. They're going to be at Arena Mexico next Wednesday. As I'm taking a look at what's going on right now, a real-time update for you here on Collision. It is Bandito, the Ring of Honor World Champion. Because you see, most of the Ring of Honor champions are allowed to appear on AEW television, except one very important champion, the longest champion in Ring of Honor history. But Bandito is in the ring and he's wrestling the Beast Mortos. Look at this. Our friend Frank is in the ring. He's got some white gear this time. Look at this. The Beast Mortos has some new gear. Very impressive. New gear for another loss. He's like the Chad Gable of AEW. Only Mexican. With a much cooler mask, I will say, than El Grande Americano. Even the mask looks new. Anyway. So, they should be doing MJF against the Beast Mortos. See, that I would be interested in seeing. MJF is going to give him his match at Grand Slam next week. He's looking forward to ripping that Dime Store mask off his stupid face. Mistico is going to get a Patriot in Mexico because he's dusting off the red, white, and blue. God bless America, and God bless your American hero, Maxwell Jacob Friedman. So they lowered the USA flag from the ceiling. Even Taz pointed out on commentary, it was a smaller flag because it was a much smaller building. I don't know that I would have pointed that out. It was a smaller flag, and I think it had, where the stars are, it had little MJF heads. And then they shot off a ridiculous amount of red, white, and blue streamers, and they played some patriotic music. So MJF got in the ring with the microphone, and Mistico, because he was saying all this outside. Now he gets inside. And Mistico cuts him off, and he's laughing, and he says that he'll see MJF next week in his home at Arena Mexico. And MJF said that he's not Mistico to him. He's still Sloppy Sin Cara, which is a hell of a line, I have to say. Sloppy Sin Cara. God, I remember that run. What a disaster that run turned into. Oh, my God. What a disaster. I still remember when he broke his finger in a match with Del Dipshit on Raw. And Del Rio, he had no love for Mistico. And I think he wanted the match called off, and Del Rio just flipped out. He's like, we're not ending this fucking match. And he just started shooting on the guy. Like, that was kind of his run. Like, that was a nice little microcosm of his run in WWE back then. Yeah, it didn't work out too well. And then Hunico, right? Hunico took over after that. He was the new Sin Cara. Not sloppy Sin Cara. Mistico blocked a punch. He dropped MJF with a right hand. Shelton Benjamin and Bobby Lashley, they pounced. So we had 3-on-1 attack until Speedball, Mike Bailey, Kevin Knight, and Mascara Dorada's music hit. He was the replacement for Komander. And the Syndicate ran to go cut them off in the aisle, but they appeared in the ring instead, and then they took out all three members of the Syndicate with a trifecta of dives. And that led into the trios match. It was Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MJF taking on Bailey, Knight, and Dorada. MJF was wearing a vest and gear very much like MVP. MVP-inspired gear. MJF was toying with Dorada. He did a flip before hitting an eye poke. And then he mocked the crowd. Dorada returned the favor with an eye poke of his own. Bailey and Knight, they made some quick tags. We had running shooting star, sliding uppercut, running shooting star combo from the two of them that got an ear fall. Bailey lit up MJF with some kicks before Dorada sprung in, but he got backed into the wrong corner where Lashley sent him out to the floor. MJF tried the ballin' elbow, right? Ballin'. I don't do it as well as he does, but although I could play some basketball. I haven't played in a while, but I'd probably pull something now. But he did the balling elbow, but missed. MVP on commentary said, well, there's still a few things I need to show him. Knight made the hot tag. He ran wild. MJF was frantically diving to tag Lashley as he and Benjamin had a face-off with Kevin Knight and Speedball. We had a huge spine buster to Bayley. MJF yelled for a tag, and Lashley reluctantly obliged. MJF hit Shingo Takagi's Made in Japan for a near fall, but he took too long in mocking Speedball. Dorada flew in. He wiped out MJF. Lashley, though, sprinted in with a spear. And there was an awkward double drop kick to Shelton Benjamin. Dorada followed with a shooting star off the ropes onto MJF. Back inside, Bayley was going for the ultimate weapon when MJF grabbed Bryce Remsburg, which allowed MVP to leave commentary to go crack Bayley, who was on the top rope, with his cane. And the hammerlock DDT followed, and MJF pinned Speedball. So when the match was over, Lashley and Benjamin, they attacked Kevin Knight and Speedball. That left MJF alone with Mascara Dorada. And MJF proceeded to unmask this man. It took a little while, too. Like, the mask didn't come off right away. He was taking his time in doing it. And that's important to point out here because immediately after he pulled the mask off and he was holding it up like a trophy, Mistico ran back into the ring. He flew back in and he hit La Mystica. Of course, if you've seen him do La Mystica before, it ends in an armbar, and MJF is furiously and frantically tapping out. Hurt Syndicate quickly made the save. Mistico bailed out of the ring. I love how Mistico allowed his fellow luchador to be unmasked. I mean, it was a very small venue. Like, it didn't take very long for you to, like, come out of the crowd or come from the back and hit the ring. MJF took long enough to pull this guy's mask off. I love how he allowed the mask to come off first, and then he flew in. A hell of a guy. Between the pre-match promo and the match itself, I thought they did a fine job here of setting things up for Arena Mexico next week. MJF is going to get a shit ton of heat in that building. I think that's going to be great. They also tried here to make Speedball and Kevin Knight a thing as far as setting them up to challenge for the tag team titles down the road at some point. Could be as early as next week against Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin. They did the best job they could. I would still be very surprised, though, to see a title change when we eventually do get that match. I mean, I suppose they could save that match for Texas if they want to, but I'm not even sure they wait that long. And when they do it, again, I'm not saying that it would be impossible to conceive of Bayley and Knight winning the titles, especially if there's some sort of miscommunication or MJF is involved. And look, when we talk about MJF, we talk about a direction for him. And we were talking a little bit about this on TNT last night. What do you do with MJF on your biggest show of the year? He's one of the biggest stars in the entire company. Longest reigning world champion in AEW history. And he has no obvious match on the biggest show of the year. But clearly he will be on that show. We're not going to get a trios match with the Hurt Syndicate. So what the fuck do you do with MJF? I thought that they were setting up slowly for an eventual singles match between MJF and Bobby Lashley, which is still possible, but each week that goes by, it just seems less and less likely. At some point, though, when those two guys drop those belts, is MJF going to factor into that decision? Is there going to be some sort of mishap, some sort of miscommunication that leads to them losing the titles, and that leads to a breakdown within the Hurt Syndicate? And does that come before Texas? Because I still feel like MJF and Lashley is the one direction that would make the most sense. Otherwise, MJF against who? Ospreay, Hangman, Swerve, they're all occupied. So there's no other obvious opponent for him, if not Lashley. I'm very curious to see what they come up with for him. Now, we were told that after a commercial break, we would hear from the head.
Have the best moveset.
Hey, MGM Ballin. Thank you for the 1999. We're almost at the halfway point for our second goal. Keep it up. Bandito and the Beast Mortos still going at it. here at 11:17 p.m. I don't even know what's left in the show. We already saw Toni Storm against Julia Hart. Did they do Kyle Fletcher and Anthony Bowens? I believe they did do Kyle Fletcher and Anthony Bowens. Let me see here. What else have they advertised for this show? Let me take a look here. Let me see. Because I had it in the description. I wrote the description. I don't even remember everything that was in it. Let's take a look and see. What else did they announce for this Collision show tonight? Oh, Thekla against Queen Aminata. Yeah, I mean, they didn't announce anything else. I have no idea what they're closing the show with tonight. Maybe they'll send fucking Paragon out there again. Now you know why I go live in my usual time here for these shows. Because there's no point in doing it otherwise. But we were told that after a commercial, coming up next would be the number one contender for the AEW World Championship, Hangman Adam Page. Wait a minute. You still have Paragon against Don Wait, you're telling me I was right? I was spitballing. Are you serious? Are you serious? Are they closing this show at midnight again with Paragon? Apparently it's Paragon against the Don Callis family. Wow. Oh, boy. Sorry, I'm going to miss that. We come back. We're waiting for the Hangman. And when they play his music, we get Hangman, but we don't get Hangman in the way that we thought we were going to get Hangman. He gets tossed out of the entrance tunnel. And he's bound and gagged, and he's getting the hell beaten out of him by the Death Riders, who bring him down to the ring. And at that point, Jon Moxley and Marina Shafir join them. So they're holding Hangman on his knees, and Moxley is going to cut a promo. Oh, joy. Let's see what he has to say. And Jon Moxley says that he's terribly sorry about all this, but he wants to make sure they could have a real conversation. And he knows how distracted Hangman can get. Moxley wants him to be focused because this is his time for the AEW Championship. It's do or die, he says. This whole Death Rider storyline needs to die in a fire. So he says Hangman is someone he's been watching for a very long time. He's a complicated guy. You know, if back in the day people would update their relationship status on Facebook, I guess on Hangman's profile it would say, it's complicated. He's a complicated guy. And he doesn't like Hangman, the millennial cowboy. Moxley doesn't know what Hangman has been searching for, but he has 4 weeks to find it. He's got 4 weeks to step up to be the man that everybody wants him to be. And if he's not prepared to do that, Page can pack his shit and get the hell out. So Hangman fired up with a headbutt to Moxley because his hands were bound. That's all he could do. Headbutted Moxley. Claudio quickly wrapped a chair around his neck. They were about to Pillmanize him. Moxley held him off. Then we heard the music for The Ops, which I didn't recognize right away. Thankfully, the announcers mentioned The Ops, and I said, oh, that's right. Because when the music first started, I'm like, who the fuck is this? And then I saw Samoa Joe and Shibata and Powerhouse Hobbs. They came out, and the Death Riders got out of there. So they freed Hangman, and he took the microphone, and he's very angry. And he yells that he's come too far and too close for that to be the best that Moxley has. He'll ride through death itself to get the AEW World Championship, and if he finds one of them tonight, he promises to take their heads. And he grabbed a chair and he stormed through the crowd after the Death Riders. He, in fact, did not find them because we did not see him again for the rest of the night. He never even thanked the Ops for making the save. What an ungrateful bastard. No wonder Swerve hates him. I cannot stand the idea of another 4 months or whatever it would be. Like if Moxley doesn't lose the championship next month, then the earliest I see him losing it would probably be All Out. There is always the possibility that, you know, Ospreay could challenge for it at Forbidden Door because they're going to be at the O2 in London. He could win the title in London. I mean, that would be a cool moment. But honestly, I mean, if Moxley actually retains in Texas, I don't think he drops it until at least All Out in Toronto. And to just continue to prolong this and get closer and closer to that 1 year mark of this is just sickening. So, storyline wise, they want everybody to hope and believe that Hangman is going to do it at All In Texas, but it's not just storyline wise. Like, for the sake of the World Championship and the top storyline that they have right now in this company, we need that payoff, and we need to move on beyond this. And whatever that means for Jon Moxley and the Death Riders, whether they dissolve or they stay together, but they're just not involved in the World Championship picture anymore, whatever it is, it's time to move on. We had the Bloodline in WWE for, 4 years? 4 or 5 years? And even that now has petered out. But it was the dominant story and the dominant faction in that company, but it was also demonstrably successful for them until it wasn't, and it just started to get, very old. I still don't see any evidence that this has been some massive success. Tony Khan may see some internal data that we don't, and he can point to things that maybe have started to creep back up. Is that because of the Death Riders, or is it something else? It's hard to measure that. I just can't imagine that the Death Rider stuff specifically has resulted in any sort of real major tangible increase in overall interest in the AEW product. And it certainly hasn't for me. So the quicker that we can put a period on this and move on, the better off we will be. But I am worried that this may not end. This may not end in Texas. I'm still not convinced of that. And I think if this continues, I'm just going to say it, I think Tony Khan should be brought up on felony charges. I don't know what those charges would be. We'll figure it out. We'll make them up. But bring that man up on felony charges if Moxley retains it All In. We have Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford against Anna Jay and Ty Melo. The remaining time that we had here on Dynamite was occupied by this match and a contract signing. So this technically was the main event match of the show. But the returning Ty Melo. Is it Ty Melo? Ty Melo. Wrestling her first match on Dynamite in 2.5 years. That was the last time. I think it was a New Year's Smash 2 years ago. Was the last time that this woman technically had a Dynamite match. So Ford and Jay, they were dropped early, which left Melo and Bayne to have a face-off. And Melo was saying she's not afraid of Megan Bayne. Ford tripped Melo up and drove her into the steps outside. Anna was worked over on the inside. Anna fired back before making some quick tags with Ty. After a commercial break, Melo got the hot tag, delivering a snap German and a running knee strike on Ford for a 2 count. Bayne tossed her own partner to her corner to make the tag, and Melo met her with some hard forearm shots and a series of running corner boots, capped off with a pump kick. Melo wanted a DDT, but Bayne spun out, tried for Fate's Descent. Melo escaped into a leg submission. Bayne got free. She charged. Melo, though, low-bridged and followed with a cannonball off the apron. Anna flew off the second rope with a crossbody onto Bayne, and Ford followed suit with a moonsault onto the babyfaces outside. So back inside, Bayne hit a dueling Samoan drop fallaway slam. Penelope ordered Megan to make the tag. Ford got Melo up at a fireman's carry. Ty escaped into a gory special, twisting into a knee lift. And Jay caught Bayne in the Queen Slayer on the apron, which allowed Melo to get the pin. And when the match was over, Bayne broke free, and Anna and Ty fled for their lives. For someone who has not been in the ring in over 2 years, I thought that Ty Melo looked really good here in this match. Obviously, she has a partnership and a friendship with Anna Jay that goes back a long way. It's like a little reunion here. So, there was no ring rust there or anything like that. I thought she looked good. The match itself was fine, but she looked good, for someone who's been out of the ring for very long and, had a kid. I mean, that's really why she was gone for so long. And now she's getting back into the swing of things, and it felt like they were building here to, an eventual singles match between her and Megan Bayne, but also protecting Bayne on the finish here so she doesn't have to eat the pin. And the other thing also that was noticeable here, you can tell that Tony Khan is priming things for the introduction in the near future of women's tag team titles. And I really don't think I think the last thing that they need, frankly, are more titles. It's inevitable. When he's been asked about this at some of the media scrums, he's always been very positive and very receptive to the idea. So it's clearly going to happen sooner rather than later. These are two of the teams that you're going to see, challenging for those women's tag team titles. Tay J, as they call themselves, Anna J and Ty Melo. Megan Bayne and Penelope Ford. You throw in Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Maybe they want to pair up Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale. Yeah, maybe they could be a team. Who else is there? Because you're going to have women who are competing for the women's world title. You're going to need women competing for the TBS championship, right? You got 2 singles titles. So what are we really looking at here in terms of like women's tag team titles? It's just like with WWE, where you're going to have to make these makeshift teams just to justify, having those titles. Maybe it would be a good way to get Deonna Purrazzo back on TV. Because Deonna Purrazzo is paired up with Taya Valkyrie. So maybe we see them on TV, although I don't expect them to get any kind of serious push. But the titles haven't even been introduced yet, and I'm already looking at it like this is unnecessary. But it's inevitable. Clearly, it feels like they're building towards it. So maybe we'll get Thunder Tits. Toni Storm and Thunder Rosa. We got a great video package. A long video package. Highlighting the history between Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada and their legendary rivalry and their classic matches from New Japan Pro Wrestling dating all the way back to 2017. It was very extensive. And I don't think that Tony Khan generally likes to spend this much time on video packages. I feel like he fears, and I think maybe WWE feels the same way, but you don't see video packages this long on television. Like AEW has produced some really good video packages before that have some length to them. Generally, the longer versions of them are kept to the YouTube channel and social media. This one they let play out, and I'm glad they did. I think most of the people who watch his shows are already aware of the history between Omega and Okada. The diehard fans, they know. They've seen at least some of their previous matches. They know of the history between them from overseas. But to remind them, and for the fans who may not know, I think it's important to do stuff like this. So thumbs up to them on that. I'm glad they did that. But it led directly into the closing segment, which was the contract signing for the winner-takes-all match in Texas between these two men. Tony Schiavone was in the ring. And he introduced Okada to the ring first, and then Kenny Omega. Neither man had their titles with them because there was a table in the ring with Tony and there was a tarp. And the titles were on the table in the ring. And then came the announcement from Tony Schiavone that the winner of this match, July 12th at All In, will be the brand new AEW Unified Champion. This is a brand new championship they are introducing. And let me just say, I am glad that they are unifying the titles. It is the correct move. It's the move I've been talking about and hoping for and pitching for now for the past few months, because I just personally think that the Continental title is the most useless championship in the entire company. There is no need for it. There's no need for it. The Continental Classic is great. You do not need to have a Continental Championship. Get rid of it. So they're unifying them, and there will be no Continental title anymore. That's great. But now they're having this new unified championship, and he revealed a brand new belt, and there it is on your screen right there. The brand new, it even says Unified Champion right there on the center plate. That is the new championship. I'm not a fan of the name. Let me just say that. But I get why they would not want to call it the Intercontinental title. I get it. I mean, it doesn't mean they can't do it. New Japan had an Intercontinental title until they retired it. Actually merged it with the IWGP title to form that brand new IWGP World Heavyweight title. So that would have made the most sense. I get why they wouldn't want to do it, because then you would just have people saying, oh, you're copying of WWE. So I understand it. I don't know why they wouldn't just call it the international title. Like, it's the older of the two titles. It's sort of grandfathered in. Just keep the name. You don't need a continental title. Just merge them and call it the International Championship. I don't really understand why there was a need to change the name. But if you'll notice, on either side of the belt, they have two side plates on each side. The side plate on each side that is furthest away, like on the left side there, actually shows Kenny Omega doing the one-winged angel. And on the other side, there's a plate that shows Okada doing the Rainmaker. So I think that's pretty cool. But I'm looking at this belt and I'm just thinking, man, I can't shake this feeling that this title reminds me of another one that this company used to have, only bigger. This right here, if you remember, was the original AEW Women's Championship. Look how tiny this thing is. This looks like something that fucking Melo would have held back in 1968. But this was the original AEW Women's Championship. And it just looks like shit. I'm sorry. That's why they changed the title, because it doesn't look good. That's what this new title reminds me of. Only obviously this title is a lot bigger than this one. But I can't get that image out of my head. They basically took the old women's title and, they basically, stuck the needle in its ass. Here's some Deca, and blew it up. And that's what we have now, with a couple of custom side plates. So now I will never get this image out of my head. But there you go. I said, it just reminds me of something. Their own title. So Okada doesn't say anything. He immediately signs the contract. He just wants to get down to business. Omega said 7 years, almost to the day, since we had our last match, and he barely even recognized himself watching that footage back. So let's leave it all in the ring one more time for everything. And then he went and he signed the contract. Everyone, eventually Riho. That is true. Riho is a very tiny person. And I believe Riho was the first champion. So a tiny title for a tiny woman, I guess, kind of makes sense. But it was a little too small. Even though I understand Riho was the champion, it was still a very small belt. It looked like a child's belt. It looked like a child's belt. Like, they sell belts, or I know WWE did, that were small enough to be almost like small enough to wrap around your wrist. That's what that old women's belt reminded me of. There probably are some people who could wrap that belt around their wrist if they wanted to, like a watch. It's too small. Omega put his hand out for a handshake, and Okada accepted, and then he pulled him in close. And the two of them started to talk shit to each other until we heard the Don Callis music. If you could even call it that. It's just this brooding theme. And out comes Don Callis. He walks out on stage. And he said he had something important to say. Kenny should be ashamed of himself. The match should not be between him and Okada. It should involve Kyle Fletcher, or it should involve Konosuke Takeshita. Omega told him to cut the shit. He's been there, done that. He's beaten them. If they want a shot at the belt, they're going to have to get in line like everybody else. He knows all of Don's tricks, and it's not going to work. And Callis said, well, you didn't know this one. And of course, Okada blasts him in the back from behind with the Continental belt. The whole thing was a setup. Callis got in the ring and he brandished a police baton, which he handed to Okada, and Okada nailed Kenny in the gut with it. So we got the obligatory diverticulitis mention here from Excalibur. The fans chanted, "You sold out" at Okada. Then they chanted "bitch" at him. As the medical team hit the ring to tend to Kenny, he was writhing around on the mat in pain. So they brought out a backboard to the ring. They were going to try to, I guess, strap Kenny to the backboard and get him out of there. And Okada's just standing there smiling. He's admiring his handiwork. And they went off the air. They put the copyright on the screen and they went off the air. Only briefly because they immediately came back on. But that was the end of the Dynamite portion of Summer Blockbuster. So the first half of the show was over. But they came right back and Okada goes up to the top rope and he comes leaping off with a diving elbow drop to the midsection. So now Omega is being loaded on the backboard and they get him on a stretcher outside the ring. Christopher Daniels gets in the ring and he is admonishing the two of them. How could you do this? Callis leaves the ring and he chases all the medical staff and the officials away with the baton as Kenny is lying there on the stretcher. And that clears the way for Okada to dive off the apron with a diving elbow drop once again to the midsection of Kenny Omega. And this is where this very serious angle, this very serious injury angle for one of the biggest matches on the entire card, on their biggest show of the year, went from something very serious to pure comedy. Because Okada comes leaping off the apron, he hits the elbow, and almost immediately Kenny Omega begins spewing, I would say, chunks of blood. Gobs of blood, chunks of blood. This was a lot of blood, and it was thick, and it was just spitting it up out of his mouth, and it's like oozing on the floor, and I'm sitting here and I'm just laughing. Because it's one thing to have blood and you want to do a serious injury angle. There are ways to do it. This was so over the top to me. I'm sorry. This was so over the top. They turned this into comedy. I was entertained. I mean, hey, I watched the shows to be entertained, right? I don't know, again, if that was the idea or the goal necessarily to get people to laugh. I laughed. I said, this is so ridiculous. But he's lying there on the ground and he's spitting up blood. And I'm like, man, this guy might not make it. He's like Lance Anoa'i, per Dave Meltzer in the Observer. He may not make it. So that was the end of the segment. I just was just shaking my head. So Okada is working with the Callis family now, or at least tonight he did. Maybe not next week, but he was working with the Callis family at least. Yeah, that's right. Blood. It looked like he was coughing up blood clots, like little clots of blood out of it, like instantly. It was ridiculous. It was completely. It just, you got to use blood. I think that's the other thing. Also, like you want it to look realistic and not look like you're chewing on some blood capsules. And it wasn't that Kenny Omega was biting down on blood capsules or condoms, as they sometimes do, filled with blood capsules. I think he had the entire box of Trojans in his mouth. Like, I think he had every capsule in the box and he just bit down on them all at once. That's what this looked like. It looked like a fucking crime scene. I wonder if this means we're not going to see Kenny for a few weeks and not just like 1 week. I wonder if this is a way, because there's still a month to go before we get to Texas. What, you've had the contract signing already. What do you do with Omega and Okada? You really don't want them to touch too much. You don't want to give too much away. So maybe this is a way to get Kenny off TV for 2 or 3 weeks, bring him back right before the pay-per-view. I don't know. I don't know how long he'll be away for. I'll tell you what I was disappointed in. I thought when they did the handshake and then Callis came out and you saw Omega and Okada, they were standing there together in the ring. I thought, we're heading into Arena Mexico next week. And how great would it be if we got to see Kenny Omega and Kazuchika Okada as tag team partners? And I can't remember seeing them as partners but for that one New Year Dash show. And I don't remember when it was. Was it this year? God, I don't remember if it was this year or last year. But there was a New Year Dash show where Kenny, I think, maybe was there unannounced. And I think he was tag team partners with Okada. But like they've not been partners before, to my knowledge. And it would be kind of unique going into All In if they joined forces for 1 week in Arena Mexico, of all places. It's going to be a hot crowd, I'm sure, next week to wrestle Kyle Fletcher and Konosuke Takeshita, and then shoot the Horseman angle where Okada turns on Kenny is Sting, and Okada turns on Kenny at Arena Mexico and gets like mega heat, and they do a huge beatdown angle there. That's what I was hoping. So I was a little disappointed that they just kind of killed it off tonight. But, here we are now, and I think Tony Khan he's got 3 good options as far as what he can close the show with when they get to Arlington at Globe Life Stadium. The obvious one is Hangman Page holding the AEW World Championship high above his head, as we all pray to the wrestling gods above. If Hangman is going to win the championship, that's your main event. They don't go off the air with anything but the Death Riders being taken down, Hangman winning the title. If Hangman is not going to win the championship, they could close the show with this match right here, because it's a big enough deal. The first match these two have had in years and years, right? The resumption of this classic feud, maybe the final time we'll see them in the ring together. And it's champion against champion, and you're doing a title unification to crown a brand new unified champion. You could absolutely close the show with Omega Okada. The other option is Mercedes Mone and Timeless Toni Storm. And I do worry about what this buildup is going to look like, but it is the biggest women's match in the division right now that they could do. And it is also champion against champion, even though only Tony's title is on the line. Seems less likely, but if Hangman doesn't win that championship, I think there'll be a discussion. I think internally there'll be a discussion about, do we close with the women or do we close with Omega and Okada? And I just feel like Omega Okada is a big enough deal that you could close the show with that if you're not doing a world title change on that show. So he's got a few options. We don't have the full card yet, but now you start to see like what all the big matches are going to be. The 3 that I just mentioned. Then you throw in Swerve and Ospreay most likely against the Young Bucks. And that right there is, I think, what you're looking at. What MJF and the Hurt Syndicate are going to do, we still don't know. Are they going to do Cope and Christian on that show against FTR? At this point, I hope not, because I feel like it would be completely rushed. It would feel like a rush job at this point. Next week at Arena Mexico, we may see Copeland back on TV. I did see, before I went live here, that they did an angle in the ring with FTR on Collision tonight. Who were they in the ring with? They were in the ring with Atlantis and another luchador. And so they're doing that next week. That feels to me like a time that we would see Cope make his return. I don't know who else he would team with if not Christian, but the whole Cope and Christian thing at this point, I think it's better saved for All Out. Gives you more time to build to it. It's Toronto. It just makes more sense. Because now Copeland, let's say, comes back in Mexico next week. You're 3 weeks out. How the hell are you going to build to Cope and Christian in a reunion? I know the talk about doing that match in Texas was biggest show of the year, big stadium show. Like, I understand all that. But that just doesn't seem very likely to me at this point for Texas. And even if they do it, I think it would be a mistake to do it that soon. But FTR will have some kind of match on that show. Copeland will be there. So we still don't know where all the other pieces are going to fall necessarily. But maybe Kyle Fletcher wins the TNT title from Adam Cole. The top matches are pretty much set, though. Like, we pretty much know what those matches are going to be. So overall, I didn't think that it was a bad show. I can't speak to Collision. What little bit I've seen doesn't look terribly exciting, but I thought Dynamite tonight was a solid show. It did what it had to do in terms of setting up the big matches, the big angles for the big matches, outside of the little bit of comedy there at the very end. So, perfectly solid show is how I would describe what we got tonight. And let's see what people said about this on X. Mostly positive. What did you think of the Dynamite portion of Summer Blockbuster? 53.8% thumbs up. 46.2% thumbs down. The Juliet says, you do FTR and the Hurt Syndicate for All In and have MJF cost Bob and Shelton the tag belts. I think you're on to something. But that would then mean that MJF has no match. He has an angle. So you're saying he has an angle on that show, but not a match. You know what? You may be right. You may be right. See, that actually would make sense if the goal in getting to Cope and Christian against FTR would be for it to be a tag team title match. And then you have Cope and Christian win the titles from FTR, Bald and Hair at All Out in Toronto. See, that actually does make sense. And that's the only way I see Benjamin and Lashley losing those belts is because they somehow get screwed out of them. I still don't see any tag teams, and I'll include FTR in that, where I honestly look at that and go, okay, these guys are just going to get beat straight up. It would have to be some sort of a screw job or a miscommunication, a fuck up or something like that. That would make sense. Change the titles on that show to FTR, save the Cope and Christian stuff for All Out. I like that. Let's take a look at your super chats. See what you guys have to say about this show tonight. See, we're booking the territory. That's what we do here. I don't know if we're booking it accurately, but we're booking the territory. Did I see that Mercedes is challenging for the CMLL title? Oh my God, she's challenging for the CMLL title next week. Another belt? Is she getting another belt? She went to Vienna, Austria this past weekend, and she won the EWA Championship, the European Wrestling Association Championship. So she's got, 5? She's up to 5 belts now, I think. Is she going to win a 6th belt? She may win a 7th. She may win the CMLL title next week, and then she may beat Toni Storm and win the AEW World Championship as well. She's going to have a wagon soon where she pulls the wagon behind her, just dumps all the belts in there and then pulls the wagon behind her. She's not going to be able to hold them all. Who currently has the CMLL Women's Championship? Who is the champion? Let me go back here and grab the early super chats before I get into what is on your screen right now. The main event is coming to the ring right now. I should point this out. Here comes Daniel Garcia. He's on his way to the ring. And listen to that stud. Matt Menard, too. Here they come. Listen to that stone cold pop. All right, see here. Let's see. Let's start out with Death Scythe. He was number 1 tonight. What's going on, Death Scythe? Death Scythe is with us. I still can't believe that. So let me see here. Did anybody mention who the champion is right now in CMLL? Zeoxys. Okay. Zeoxys. I feel like I'm one of the only people who actually says her name right. Zeoxys is the... Didn't she wrestle Mercedes once before? I feel like I've seen this match before. Roderick says, didn't we get this main event last week on Collision? Paragon was in the main event last week. I don't know. I don't remember who they wrestled. Maybe it was the same match. I don't know. I call them the Collision Cowboys because it's basically their show. Okay, so Zeoxys is the champion. So what are we thinking here? Is she going to win her 6th belt, or is Toni Storm going to cost her? Because remember, Mercedes is undefeated in AEW so far. Is she really going to lose her first match next week? I find that very hard to believe. They could always do a no contest, but I don't see her losing next week. Death Scythe says, idea for both nights of SummerSlam. So we've moved away from all of this now to SummerSlam. Punk and Reigns on night 1. The winner faces Seth Rollins on night 2. With the Money in the Bank on the line, and Seth wins, and after Ron Killings wins the WWE title from Cena, Seth cashes in and wins. Wow, that's a lot. I don't see any of that happening, but that is a very creative idea. I'll give you points for creativity, but I would bet my left nut that that's not going to happen. Or the right one. Choose whichever one you want. Havili I was going to give him a shout out at the beginning of the stream. I forgot, but yes, Havili. And where's my horns at? He at least deserves the herns. Roosh is going to give him the herns. But Havili came in before I even went live tonight with a $195, 300 Australian, but a $195 super chat drop. My goodness. What's up, Solomonster? Shout out from Brisbane. How are you doing today? Tried to show you and JD some love yesterday, but YouTube wouldn't let me send you guys a super chat. Man. Well, fuck YouTube. You and JD are the GOAT. Thank you for everything you do. Well, we both thank you, Havili. Havili is a very big supporter, I know, of us both, and we very much appreciate the support, brother. What is the possibility of getting Jericho versus Omega 3? Or Ospreay versus Omega 3 soon? I take an Omega 3 every morning when I wake up. The possibility of either one of those is very, very slim. I don't think we're going to get Omega Jericho again at all. I think Ospreay Omega is possible at some point in the future, but anytime soon, no. It's not happening. It wouldn't make any sense. Why would they do it? There would have to be a storyline. Well, I mean, I guess in AEW there doesn't have to always be, but there would have to be a reason for it. I don't really see there being one, so I'm going to say no. But Havili, thank you, man. You are awesome. Is Bulu here yet? No, I haven't seen Bulu lately. Bulu popped in last week. Bulu fought Tulu. Our boy Bulu. Wherever he is, I hope he's doing well. Hulkling 93. Mistico on defense for the majority of his match with Blake Christian. Babyface is fearful of MVP and his mighty cane. MVP needs to look that strong, and Mistico lets a luchador be unmasked. Come on, son. I said he's not a good guy, I guess, you know, that he would allow something like that to happen. Dr. Scorpio, tonight's Raw review is sponsored by Be the Booker. Be the Booker, where your dream or nightmare fantasy matches happens. Tonight's Raw review, huh? I think Dr. Scorpio has been hitting some of that moonshine. I get it. We all have those days. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett. I'm sorry, but even the Hurt Syndicate are just being booked too dominant. There's no real opposition to stand up to them. Who do you book them to? Well, I like what the Juliet said before. You know, you book them to wrestle FTR, and MJF, intentionally or otherwise, screws them out of the tag team titles. That gets the belts off of them, and then you move on to whatever the next phase of this MJF story is going to be. That's how you get the belts off of them. That's about the only way. Libido Bell. Promo round for Be the Booker. Promo round. Cutting a promo for Be the Booker. Be the Booker is a portal to Goldberg. Watch out. Randy Bobandy just wanted to send some love. Got to work early in the morning, so I'll catch the review in the morning. Brother Solo and chat, have a great night. Hey, Randy is not here right now, but when he listens back to this or watches this back, thank you, my friend. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Where are we at on the likes, by the way? We are at 417. So we will be doing Be the Booker. We're definitely lagging behind on the bonus round. That doesn't look good, but we'll be doing at least the one round of B2B here in a little bit. We got Libido Bell again. What would Solomonster's Sinister Six look like? I know Van Wyck is number one. I think the Learning Tree and 3-hour shows make the list as well. Yeah. I think that they would all make the list for sure. How about some 4-hour AEW blocks? I think that would be part of the Sinister Six as well. I know the other ones I got to think about. There's a lot of things I don't like. More like the Sinister 60. Bender McSimpson, Ospreay, and Swerve put on another classic, and the unified title looks amazing. Well, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. It's not a bad belt. Amazing is not the word I would use to describe it. I actually think the international title looks a lot better than the unified title. I'm sorry. That's why another reason why I was kind of hoping they would just keep the international title. It just physically as a belt, it looks better. David Thiering saw a story that Netflix is developing a wrestling drama called Tuesday Night Titans. Off is the direction that Netflix can fuck. That is very interesting, isn't it? Thank you, David. Game Chit. Yeah, Game Chit popped up last night too. I don't know why that makes me laugh. Game Chit. What's good, my man? Is that WCW logo that you've got on the top tier of that shelf behind you backwards? Yes, it is. Because this is mirrored. Because that's how it was when I started doing the video streams years ago. And now I've gotten so used to everything being exactly where it is that I can't see it any other way. So it has to stay this way. But yeah, I got a WCW, they're actually light up, acrylic light up signs. There's a WCW logo one there. There you see the old school WWF one there. I got an ECW one also. Little barbed wire around it. Thank you, Game Chit. Dog Lover. Hey, Solo, hope you're well. Been a shitty day, but Goldberg against Gunther at Saturday night's main event. Says, then Sammy against Gunther at SummerSlam. Then Seth cashes in, Sammy wins at Mania, then the Bronze turn on Seth on the next Raw. What do you think? I think you need to go back and listen to exactly what I talked about in my Raw review, because I laid out that very scenario on my review. And on Twitter, actually, as soon as Raw was over on Monday night. I didn't mention Braun Breaker, but I basically told you what I think the vision is for Sami Zayn. Boots. What do we need to do to get Mr. Iguana and Layeska on the cover of WWE 2K26? I think you got to know somebody who works for 2K and get on the horn and let them know. We need a hashtag campaign. It worked for R-Truth. Maybe it could work for Mr. Iguana. Food Hive. Where are we meeting in Texas, guys? I'll let you guys discuss all that. I'm doing a hit and run in Texas. I'm coming in on a Friday for House of Glory, and I'm flying right back out the next morning because there's a lot of wrestling I got to cover that weekend. Otherwise, I might have extended my stay. I'm getting in, I'm getting out. I wish I had more time there. Also, can't wait until we are 9 days away from All In. My God, what was that? Was that 5 years ago already? Tony Khan in the empty Daly's place. 9 days and 9 days. Get ready for your match in 9 days. So weird. So weird. MGM Ball and no thoughts on AEW tonight. Just supporting Bonus Be the Booker. Well, I wish we had 6 more. He was one of the 4. MGM Ballin', we tried, brother. We tried. Food Hive. Dude, I literally just talked to Lance Archer at the grocery store. How fast they gotta be at the venue for TV. What the helly? Wait a minute, I thought... Aren't they in Portland tonight? Are you in Portland? I thought you were in Texas. I think they're in Portland. Okay, so it is It is 12:02 a.m. Eastern time. This fucking show is still on the air. This is the second year, feels like that. The second week in a row that they have an overrun for a 4-hour show. This match is still in progress. Oh my God. Ridiculous. David Joseph. Much love from from Little Haiti. Just want to say thank you for all the legendary content. You've helped me get through many bad days at work. David, I've had many bad days at work back in the day myself. And I didn't have anything to help pass the time. I wish I can't listen to myself, so I'm glad that you have the sound off to keep you company to pass some time. I can't believe this match is still in progress. This is unbelievable. Daniel Garcia is beating up Lance Archer at 12:03 in the morning. What are we doing here? Dr. Scorpio, as someone who hasn't watched, I'm willing to wager in saying Mox Hogan will retain at All In with an overbooked mess. You may be right. Dark Effect. Showing love, then was curious on your thoughts on the Warner Brothers Discovery split. Will it change anything for AEW long or short term? Nobody knows long term. Short term, the answer is no. Short term, it will not affect them at all. Long term, if it affects them, it... Oh, Havili is back.
I'm squawking like a bird.
Havili is back.
Jesus Christ.
The squawking bird is here. Long term, nobody knows. Anybody who says they know is lying to you, because nobody really knows. If there is a long-term impact to this, could it mean that AEW content moves off Max to a different streaming service that might be developed out of this that supports sports content? That's possible. But anybody like, oh, this is gonna be doomsday for AEW, like, no. No. In the near term, absolutely nothing is changing. Oh, the match ended. They're still on the air, though. The Callis family won. I'm shocked. Paragon lost. At 12:05 a.m., it has finally come to an end. Actually, no, they're still on the air. Trent Beretta and Rocky Romero is the last thing that we see on this show. Fuck off. Oh, man. Thank you, Dark Effect. Nash DTV. Just wanted to say Mariah May's new name sucks. I hate it so much. People will defend it, but it is just ass. So Nash DTV, not a fan of Blake Monroe. Let me just say, Robert Lee, I'm very sorry to hear his cat passed away. His 15-year-old Calico. I'm very sorry to hear that, Robert. That always sucks. I've been there before, brother. It's rough, especially when it just happens. Or in my case, you walk in the room and you find them that way. That's a tough thing to go through. Dog Lover 2122. Solo. Be a G and set me up with your great grandma. Well, I mean, if you want coordinates to the cemetery, I'd be more than happy to provide them. I don't think she's going to make for good conversation, though. Terrible Dry Chicken AEW Women's Tag Team titles are saying, I'm coming for you, Solo. Yeah, it's only a matter of time. Maybe they'll introduce them in time for Texas, and they'll crown new champions on that show. Ed Swoggle. On Collision, Yuta tried to talk to Statlander, possibly to get her in the Death Riders. Shafir and Stat might be a woman's team for a potential... Oh, God. This is what I'm talking about. Like, Shafir and Statlander as a team? Why? Why? Just to justify having those titles in the first place. That's not why you create women's tag team titles. It's like things being, and WWE did the same thing, but it's like doing things in reverse where it's like, we have to form these teams to justify the addition of new titles, where it should be the opposite, where if you just so happen to have a very strong, very robust, big, voluptuous tag team division for the women here, that, you know what? This is a great time to have women's tag team titles. Like, the competition is overflowing here in this division. I don't see it. I don't see it. Doing it for the sake of doing it, I think, is very stupid. Dr. Scorpio, the unified inter-Atlantic continental champion. Yeah, good luck fitting that on a belt. When is Statlander's contract up, by the way? That's what I would like to know. Terrible Dried Chicken says, when it comes to pro wrestling singles titles, there needs to be a first place, a second place, and a third place. It's like on the old Mario Kart, where you would, at the very end of the race, you would have the pedestals. One for gold, one for silver, one for bronze. Power Spying Games, rest in peace, Sly Stone and Brian Wilson. Man, Brian Wilson of the Beach Boys passed away. Was he 82, I believe? I didn't see what the cause of death was, though. Terrible Dried Chicken says AEW will be very tempted to keep the world title on Jon Moxley. Also, I believe that Mercedes Mone will beat Timeless Toni for the title by cheating. I believe she'll win the title. I think you're right about that. David Joseph Solo, by the way, thank you for putting me onto OITNB. Oh, Orange is the New Black. Back in the day, you used to tweet about the show, and it's honestly aged like wine. All the characters truly played their roles. Yeah, I watched the first 2 seasons, and then I fell off because there was a 3rd season, right? Was there a 4th? I don't know. I should get back into it at some point. I enjoyed it. I just I didn't keep up with it. Eric the Shawn missed a good show, but I have a good joke for you, Solo. Which knight of the round table was the beefiest? Sirloin, says Eric the Shawn. Sirloin. It's a fine cut of meat. It's not filet mignon, but if I had one in front of me right now, I'd be mighty happy. Terrible Dried Chicken says Maurice, Emma, Liv Morgan, and now Blake Monroe, all having bathtub vignettes in WWE. This dried chicken needs a cold shower. You forgot Sunny. Once upon a time in WWE also did the bathtub thing. I'm sensing a pattern in that company. We have Stinky Feet McGee with a $5 super chat. I got my ticket to Dynamite 300 in Ontario, Canada. Ontario, California. I can't wait. When is Dynamite 300? Is that October? It's got to be, right? Orange is the New Black ran 7 seasons. Are you kidding me? Wow. I watched the first 2. I got some catching up to do, I guess. I actually have to start all over again because it's been so long. I would have to start over just to remind myself of everything I had seen. No one wants to see Sunny in a bathtub now, said Ed Swat. No. No one wants to see Sunny out on the streets, let alone in a bathtub. Havili with another $32 super chat. July 2nd. Okay. I was thinking October is the anniversary of the show. I guess I got them mixed up. July 2nd, Ontario, California is Dynamite 300. Interesting. Havili says, in your opinion, their pineapple, I think it means does pineapple belong on pizza? No, it does not. What do you consider the best Omega versus Okada match? The hour-long match that they had. What do you think AEW went downhill? I think he means when do I think they went downhill? They started to go downhill a couple of years ago. I mean, their peak, I think with the buzz around them and just everything that they had going on for it, it really peaked out around the summer and fall of 2021. And I think things started to go downhill after Brawl Out. It's been peaks and valleys since then, but that's when things really just felt like they had changed. Worst story, Bloodline or the Death Riders? Oh, the Death Riders. It was a bad weekend for people who were named Solo. Thanks again. Thank you, Havili. Wasn't a bad weekend for me. I'm the best Solo of them all. Food Hive. I talked to Lance Archer yesterday. I got my days confused. Been busy. Yes, I'm in Dallas, and I better see you in some of the chat if you like it or not. I was going to say, you talked to him at the supermarket today, and then he went from Dallas to Portland. I mean, that's quite the trip. Terrible Dried Chicken. Gunther versus Goldberg match. Headlocks, takedowns, a Goldberg spear, a kickout, a ref bump. John Cena helps. Gunther wins in disgust. Cena ruins the match. I just think you need to do a 3-minute match, and he loses, and that's it. He rides off into the sunset. He does the honors on the way out. He does the bare minimum of what he has to do, because apparently he has been hurting in training, and you don't want him to get injured. You don't want him to do too much. I'm just saying, like, if I were in the ring with him and he's admitting that he has a bad shoulder, like, I don't want him picking me up for the jackhammer. I'm just saying. I'd be a little concerned about that. Havili, thoughts on Mariah May's new name? I don't hate it as much as the other person said he hates it a little while ago. It's not as good as Mariah May. I don't really understand the need to depart from Mariah. And why not just come up with a different last name? I don't hate it, though. And you know what? We're all going to get used to it in a few weeks. Just like we did Ricky Saints. There are far worse names that people have gotten in this company. They've gotten a little bit better with the names. Okay, believe me, it used to be very bad. Very, very bad. Rank these matches between Undertaker and Mankind best to worst. Boiling Room Brawl, Buried Alive, Revenge of the Undertaker, or Hell in a Cell. Death Riders or Aces and Eights. Aces and Eights. Ranking that Hell in a Cell match is so hard. It's more spectacle than anything else. I mean, obviously that's the most famous of the matches that they've had. Me personally, I really enjoyed the Boiler Room Brawl. But you know, you gotta have the Hell in a Cell on there at number 1. Hell in a Cell, Boiler Room Brawl. Man. Buried Alive, maybe, and then Revenge of the Taker. They're all good matches. There's no bad matches in there. Buried Alive is like a guilty pleasure of mine, so That was the first one they ever did. Duff's Vids, why was the snake hungover? It had a big night on the hiss. It had a big night on the hiss? What the hell does that mean? It had a big night on the hiss. I don't get it. I thought I would get it. I thought there was like this great punchline. I don't get it. A big night on the hiss? Duff's Vids, I'm sorry. This has gone over my head. What am I missing here? Terrible dried chicken, John Cena to CM Punk. I cheat, I win. If CM Punk knows what's good for him, he'll wear a cup when he goes to Saudi Arabia. Also, John Cena can piss off the Atlanta by... The Atlanta? Brett, is that you? John Cena can piss off Atlanta by screwing Goldberg. Continues to ruin pro wrestling. Sure, you could do Cena against Goldberg on that show. You don't even keep Gunther away. Just do Cena Goldberg and you can kick him in the dick as Goldberg is coming in for a spear. He kicks him in the dick. And Dr. Scorpio says, the Viking experience. My God. Don't remind me of that. The Viking experience. I'm still wondering what on the hiss means. Apparently nobody knows. I think Dub's Vids might be on the sauce. We got some tomatoes in the chat. We've got Stinky Feet McGee. I just joined an amateur autopsy group. Friday is open mic night. M-I-K-E. See that I got. That's actually very clever. The other one just didn't hit. Open mic night, huh? This week it's Mike. Next week it's Jerry. And then Bob. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. On the hiss. Duff says, I thought I knew, but second guessing myself now. He's having an existential crisis here. We're all trying to figure it out together. While you do that, I'm going to provide all of you with what I know you're waiting for, which is be the booker. We went halfway on the bonus goal, so only 5 out of 10, but you hit the likes goal. So it is time indeed to book ourselves our own very special all-in Texas card right here on YouTube.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Can we do it? And we book a better card than All in Texas? I don't know. Some of those top matches on the All In card are pretty good, so this is going to be tough. But we're going to try. Mike is a very popular name. Probably get at least one a week. It'll be open mic night every week. Get the scalpel. Ooh, we got Sting and Lex Luger. This is what? This looks like 95. 95. I could tell just by the photo. This is 95 WCW. Sting and Luger, the former WCW Tag Team Champions. Now, is that Henry Godwinn and Phineas Godwinn? Or is that Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce? I don't know. Sting and Luger against the Godwins. I thought for sure this was going to be a bell. Until I saw Hog and Pig on my TV screen. My computer screen here. This is a TV screen. It's the smallest fucking TV screen I've ever had. Man, that's not the way I wanted to start Be the Booker. I thought for sure we were going to start with a bell. Instead, we ended up in the hog pen. All right, women's Be the Booker, Bianca Belair. I was watching a very cool video that Bianca Belair posted on her YouTube channel earlier today. A 20-minute vlog of Montez Ford's 35th birthday. She threw him a surprise 35th birthday party at home. And there were a few familiar faces there. A lot of it was family and friends, but LA Knight was there. He popped in. Damian Priest was there. He popped in. Trick Williams was there. And she gifted him an unbelievable gold roll. I couldn't tell if there were diamonds in it, but she gifted him a gold Rolex there at the very end of the video. So very cool stuff. Let's see who Bianca is going to be in. Oh, now we're 6 out of 10 on the bonus Be the Booker. Wouldn't that be funny if we crept up towards 10 out of 10? Bianca going to go one-on-one with Chris Statlander. This is why I asked the question, how long does she have left on her contract? Because that would be a great match in WWE. Bianca Belair against Chris Statlander, man. I'd love to see that match. That would be great. And now our main event. 2 out of 3 is the best we could hope for, but that's what I'm looking for here tonight. Man, Bianca and Chris Statlander. How great would that be? Uh-oh. It's Muffin Man. It's Phil from Mindy's. If looks could kill, Tony Khan would be dead in this photo. This photo, they should hang this in the Louvre. There's so much going on in this photo. The expression on Tony Khan's face with his eyes closed looking down. Punk staring laser beams at him. Mouth open. Muffin halfway in. Somebody asked before, when did things start to go downhill in AEW? This right here. This is where things began to trend in the wrong direction. My God. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Yes, it is. All right, we got Muffin Man here in the main event. Be the Booker is over after the Wyatt Six massacred the roster. Oh, no. Oh, no. Be the Booker is over. There will be no CM Punk main event. There will be no main event period because Be the Booker has been eradicated, has been massacred by the Wyatt Six. That's about the worst ending you could ask for.
I'm squawking like a bird.
Those are the rules.
Jesus.
Those are the rules. You see? Nothing good ever came out of Brawl Out. Brawl Out just killed Be the Booker, is what happened. It was bad luck. And then we landed on the Wyatt Six. And the roster is dead. And that was the end. So now your only hope is to get bonus Be the Booker, but we only got 7 out of 10 on that. Hey, that was Havili with another super chat coming in. Havili, man, thank you. We got a few more here to go through. Havili said, Michael Jordan didn't retire from the NBA. Would the Bulls win 8 straight NBA championships? Yes.
Have the best moveset.
I'm going to say yes. If Sid Vicious wasn't focused a lot on softball, Would he had been a bigger star than he was? No. I still think things would have progressed in the way that they did. I was talking about how you having a new a new House of Glory champion and Fatu. Well, I knew.
I'm the Lord.
Oh no!
Shut the fuck up.
Oh no! No!
Fuck that tree.
Cut that tree down. Cut that tree down. The learning tree, our first of the night. Hey, there's Sid. There he is. See, he heard his name. Now he popped up on screen. Yes, I forgot that he is referring to my very bad weekend of having to call the new champion crowned at House of Glory. And yes, Solo Sikoa was attacked by Jacob Fatu. It was indeed a bad weekend for people named Solo. Thank you for clarifying that, Havili. Terrible Dry Chicken. Here's an idea. Julia takes the title from Zelina, holds the belt until SummerSlam. I mean, it's almost as if I have pitched that idea now for several weeks. Do I hear an echo in here? I could have sworn I heard that same voice. RDS Harry, I acknowledge you, Brother Solo. God bless as always. Thank you, Harry. I appreciate that very much. Eric the Shawn. What did the drummer name his twin daughters? Anna 1, Anna 2. Was it Duff's or Sidro? Might have been Duff's. Used that joke a few weeks ago. It's a good one. It's a good one, but it's been used before. Aaron Solo better watch out, says Stinky Feet McGee. Yeah, and Hope Solo. Whatever she's doing. Probably bullying people. Duff's Vids with a 1999. Now he means business. Where do you find a cow with no legs? Wherever you left it. A return to form. Very good. A return to form. Be the booker to Chris to WWE, please. Oh, Chris Statlander. Hey, I'd love to see it. They got a hell of a division waiting for her if Tony Khan's not going to do anything with her. Look at that. We're 8 out of 10 now. How'd that happen? I'm getting flashbacks now to the Knicks and the Pacers. I thought this one was out of reach. All of a sudden, it's getting close. Havili with a 13. Favorite Usos entrance theme song? I mean, probably the last one they were using as a team, I think was a pretty good theme. A couple of years ago, he says a YouTube channel did a mashup for WWE Superstar theme songs. Did you hear them? And favorite, well, I mean, there's a lot of channels that do mashups, so I don't know which one you're talking about. It says his favorite mashup was Sasha Banks and The Rock. Oh, I didn't hear that one. Yeah, there's a lot of mashup channels. I don't have a favorite. There's a lot of really talented people who do them though. Actually, there's a channel that does 8-bit like MIDI, 8-bit themes of current WWE stars. And again, I forgot the name offhand, but that's a pretty cool one too. Power Spine Games says V3. Get bonus, be the booker for a continue V3. Thank you, brother. Duff's Vids. What do you call a lesbian on fire? LGBBQ. Oh, man. R. Dot just subscribed. Hopefully he didn't just unsubscribe after that. Thank you, Duffs. Terrible. Dr. Scorpio says, Booker of the Year, Charles Mason as world champion. Long may he reign. I'm getting on my bad side now. Bret Hart with 39 months of channel membership. Hulk Hogan told me that you were doing a radio show with him in Wyoming in 2006 and told you that you are a monster and you got it. Oh, that's how I got my name. Is that what Hogan's claiming? Is he taking credit for the Solomonster name? Among all of the many other things he loves to take credit for? Brother, I was talking to this guy, dude. And I said, you look like a monster. You look like a solo monster. Brendan Watson, they were in the Moda Center, MODA, in Portland, and they configured it into a theater. So they were in, so is that like a regular size arena? And they converted it into a theater? Really? Were they that hard up to sell tickets that they had to downsize? Ed Swoggle, what do sea monsters eat? Fish and ships.
Have the best moveset.
Boots with a $20 super chat. No message, just showing some love. Terrible Dry Chicken. Membership renewed for 11 months. Bianca Belair against Chris Statlander. Mercedes Mone as the referee. And Jade Cargill as the ring enforcer. Well, now you're just overbooking it to all hell. All we need is Bianca against Statlander. We don't need all the other unnecessary aspects of the match. You build to it. You build to a fatal four-way down the road. And Duff's Vids with another $19.99, which, by the way, I just noticed. Oh, my goodness. We have hit 10 out of 10. Do you believe this? 10 out of 10 on the second goal, the Super Chat goal, which means that you have unlocked a bonus round. We get another chance. Now, you do realize the Wyatt 6 is still in there. Wouldn't that be a kick in the dick if we unlocked the second round to be the Booker and the first thing we land on is the Wyatt 6 massacring the roster again? I'm not trying to will that into existence, though. I think we'll be okay. But yes, we're going to do more Be the Booker here in a second. Let me just get through this here. Duff's Vid says, why was the dwarf waiter upset? He only got 50% of the tip. Throw those tomatoes. Throw those tomatoes. I like that other one from before. Big G says, redemption. Thy name is Be the Booker. Well, let's turn off these before I go back. I don't want all the sounds to trigger. So as we go back here, and of course I missed one. I had to. Fuck me. So we are back in Be the Booker here. This time, as we do with these bonus rounds, we are, of course, going to add stipulations to these matches because we have to. Have to do stipulations. This is what makes it fun. All right. What stipulation are we going to do? A Lion's Den match. I actually like these. We didn't get too many of them. I would say probably, God, in WWE history, what do we have? Maybe 4 or 5? This one here, Shamrock and Steve Blackman. We actually had one with Shamrock, with, it was Vince and Shamrock, right? We had Jericho, I think, in Shamrock. And then maybe there was one more. Owen, right? Owen in Shamrock. What am I missing? I think there might have been about 4 of them. So we're going to do, but this is interesting. So do we start with the men? You can't do a tag match here. So we're doing men or women. What do you want to start off with here? Do you want to have the first ever women's Lions Den match, or should we start off with the boys here? I'm going to throw it to you guys. You got 15 seconds here to make up your mind. We usually save the men's main event for the end. What do you want to do here? Let's see what the chat says. Didn't Dan Severn do one? I don't think he did. I don't think so. We have a lot of votes here for the first ever women's. Okay, well then we're going to do the first ever women's Lions Den match. There you go. People have spoken. This is a first ever. I hope we find two tough ladies, though, so we can really make the most out of this stipulation. Mercedes Mone is going to be in a Lions Den match. What do you think about that? We know she's not losing because she's undefeated. Mercedes Mone in a Lions Den match? Interesting. Her contract stipulates that we have to have a drum roll. So. Mercedes Mone and Mae Young. Mae Young is a tough old broad, and if anybody belongs in the Lions Den, it's Mae Young. Tell me that is not a match you wouldn't love to see. I think Mercedes' undefeated streak just came to an end. You lock Mercedes inside the Lions Den with Mae Young, that ain't going to end well for Mercedes Mone. What a match. What a match. I'm going Buzz. The fuck out of here, Buzz. That's a bell. That's what the bell was designed for, a match like that. Are you kidding me? Mae Young would kill Mercedes. Mae Young in the Lions Den is actually the perfect fit. That's so perfect. All right, our next match is, oh, look at this, a Tony Khan dream match. Look at that collection that he has. Look at that collection. So many figures, so little time. Well, we're booking a dream match, folks. It's going to be a dream tag team match. It's a Tony Khan special. And it's going to involve the New Day. I guess it's Freebird rules. I don't know which two members it's going to be, but we got Kofi, we got Big E, and we got Xavier Woods. Who would their dream opponents be? Better not be the Usos. Seen that 15,000 times. Oh my God, the New Day against Demolition. They broke Demolition's right. That actually would be a tag team dream match. We did it. Tony got his dream match. Demolition against the New Day. Two of the most decorated tag teams of all time. I love it. This is a great bonus round that we've had so far, I have to say. This has been great. What could go wrong? We got one left. We got one match to go. Andre says Daniel Garcia against who? No, you got to think positive, man. You got to think positive. Motherfucker. It is a Mountain Dew pitch black match. We have a Mountain Dew pitch black match. Have we been jinxed? I think we've been jinxed. Okay. I knew it. Mountain Dew pitch black with Orange Cassidy on one side Let's just end this. Orange Cassidy against Omos in a Mountain Dew pitch black match. Everything about this match says that we have been Russo'd. Vince Russo has struck again. It is the kind of match I would expect that he would be a big fan of. You mean to tell me that you don't want to see Orange Cassidy against Omos with the lights out? And all kinds of fluorescent paint? I knew things were going too well. Everything was coming up aces. Everything was just, it was too smooth. Everything was going too smoothly. Both main events tonight, by the way. Both main events, we really got fucked on those two main events. We really did. We got more super chats here. Havili said, favorite tag team match from Raw. Thanks, Solo. Stone Cold Steve Austin and Triple H against Chris Jericho and Chris Benoit. May of 2001. Terrible Dried Chicken. What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age. That's true. Orange Cassidy has them shades on. It's a good point. EJ Slemp. What is your favorite House of Glory match of all time? Any must-watch... Let me just say that again. Any must-watch... Where did that come from? Any must-watch classic that you would recommend for someone diving into their best moments? I'll tell you what, there's a hell of a match at Puerto Rican Weekend a year ago between Mike Santana and Amazing Red. And I hate to give the man credit, but there was a great battle between Charles Mason and Carlos Ramirez. Got to be a couple of years ago at this point at our December show. I think they're both up on the YouTube channel too. So search for those. Start with those. Can't go wrong with those. Devin from NJ. Which wrestlers have the best collection of multiple themes to their name? Steve Austin's had a whole bunch of different versions of Glass Shatters, including the Disturbed song that he had. And there was that Volume 4 version. What was that by that group? H Blocks? Austin doesn't have too many bad themes. I might have to go with Steve Austin. He's had a lot of bangers over the years. Terrible Dried Chicken, Mercedes Mone against Mae Young. Timeless Toni Storm on color commentary with Prime Jim Ross. Take my money. Oh man, Havili, he loves that. He loves that Charlotte Flair.
Jesus Christ.
Squawking like a bird. Super chest. Squawking at Tiffany Stratton like a bird. Havili, I'll get to you in 1 second here. Duff's Vids. How does a non-binary person kill people? They slash them. Oh, okay. The way you wrote it with the
Mentos, the fresh maker.
Wake up, everybody. Leopoldo just dropped a $30 Mentos, the fresh maker super chat. The backslash threw me off there. I wanted to make sure I read it right, and it just completely threw me off in the delivery. Havili. I'm going to get to Leopoldo in a second. Havili, if Jay Briscoe did not pass away, what is the possibility of the Briscoes going to the WWE or AEW? Well, the Briscoes were not going to get on TV in AEW. So they would have had to end up in WWE. I actually think they probably would have ended up in WWE. I think they would have gotten a second shot there. Because they almost came in years earlier, and then the Jay Briscoe stuff happened, and they just didn't want to touch him. Briscoes versus the Usos, or Briscoes versus the Lucha Brothers? Briscoes and Lucha Brothers. If Shawn Michaels wasn't injured, the plan went ahead against Brett. Who would Austin face at WrestleMania? You talking WrestleMania 13? The plan was for Austin to wrestle the British Bulldog. Yeah. In 97. Think how different history may have ended up. I think Austin would have done okay, though. We wouldn't have had that classic moment, though, with Brett, with the blood streaming down the face. Arabian Night, what name is worse, Blake Monroe or Frankie Monet? Frankie Monet. Frankie Monet is worse. Leopoldo with the 30. Something fresh for us. Yo mama jokes. Here. Yo mama's so fat when she buys a fur coat, a whole species becomes extinct. Yo mama's so stupid, she stared at a cup of orange juice for 12 hours because I said, concentrate. Save the best for last on that one. We've been reduced to yo mama jokes. They won't even let you into the club with that material. They'll have the bouncer throw you right out of there. You won't even make it onto the stage. Ryan Awesome. Do you know why Triple H loves to book triple threat matches? Because it's in his name. Get it? Triple. That doesn't explain why we're getting fatal four-ways, though. In the King and Queen of the Ring tournament. Ryan, that's the one little thing that you didn't really explain. Now we're getting fatal four-ways. Terrible Dried Chicken, Orange Cassidy against Omos. Japanese commentary with Asuka as the special guest. And Goodnight Solo. Don't let the bed bugs bite. Well, thank you for that wonderful, those wonderful parting words there. It's the first thing I look for every time I check into a hotel. Don't put your bags on the bed. Check that mattress. Check underneath the mattress because that's where they nest. These are things you have to watch for. You don't want to carry them home with you. They are a bitch to get rid of. EJ Slemp, how does the man on the moon cut his nails? Eclipse it. Eclipse it. Leopoldo. Reduced. I say elevated. By the way, it said concentrate. Oh, man. Hey, Groovy Goose. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining for this review. This, by the way, I haven't mentioned it at all tonight, but this was the last review of the week because I will not be here. I am out of town all of this weekend, including Friday. So no SmackDown review this Friday, no podcast this weekend. The next time I am going to be pumping out content will be the Raw post show on Monday night. And we had a big night on Monday this week, so hopefully we can carry that over into Monday next week. Although I don't expect any World Heavyweight title changes on the show next week. But that is the next time I will be live. And the next Sound Off, which will be episode 917, will not be this Sunday. It'll be the following Sunday. And I think next week everything is back to normal. So Raw, Dynamite, SmackDown, I'm here for all of it. And we got Night of Champions coming up later on this month, final weekend of the month. So hopefully I will see you here. And in the meantime, go check out all the other content that is on the channel. This bad boy right here, this badass design, minus the flames. You can find it. It is on the new Tuesday Night Titans t-shirt. There is a link in the description down below to the shirt in the Bonfire store. And JD and I thank you for all of the success that we have enjoyed because of all of you that have tuned in for all of these many episodes of Tuesday Night Titans. This new shirt design is in celebration of our 100th episode. I have not been there for all 100, but I've been there for the majority of them now. And episode 100 is coming up very soon. Not this Tuesday, the following, June 24th. Celebrating 100 episodes. That is one badass shirt. So go ahead and pick up your own. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you for all of the support. Hitting all the goals tonight. Hit that like button on your way out. And I will see you back here again Monday night, live for the Raw Post Show right here on YouTube. Until then, take care, guys.